Welcome to Chapter 2 of Introduction to ArcGIS Pro, titled New Project Introduction. In this chapter, we will begin by taking a deeper look into the folders and databases found in the catalog. We will look at the best ways to add both new folders and new geodatabases. Next, we will take a look at adding additional map tabs and how to find your maps back after exiting. Last, we will take a thorough look at adding ArcGIS online and living atlas data into your project, including some of my favorite public layers. Let's get started. To get started, let's look at adding data to our new Pro project. First, on the right-hand side in the Catalog dialog box, let's expand databases. As you can see, our only database right now is the default geodatabase called Mapping Project. When I expand this database, you can see it is empty. Let's add an existing database. To do this, right-click on Databases and click Add Database. I am going to click on Folders and then my default folder, Mapping Project. Here in my Mapping Project folder is a geodatabase that contains parcels for Alameda County in California. I am going to click once on that file and then click OK. I now have my Alameda parcel database added to my list of databases. When I expand this database, you can see the feature class. Let's go ahead and add this data into the map. There are a few different ways to add data into a Pro project. The easiest is to create a database or folder connection like we just did. I will then just drag and drop the feature class into my map. When I do this, you can see the new layer is added into my map and the name shows up in the contents pane. Next, let's add a new folder. I will expand the folder section and you will see my default and empty folder called Mapping Project. To add a new folder, let's right-click on Folders and select Add Folder Connection. I am going to click again on Folders and then my default folder. This time, I am going to add a folder called Substations. As you can see, I now have a folder called Substations in my folder list. I am going to expand my Substations folder and add the layer to my map by again dragging and dropping the layer. Okay, now we have two layers in our map, as you can see here in the table of contents. Let's rename the Alameda layer to Alameda County Parcels. Right now, we have our point feature class listed on top of our polygon feature class, which is what we would want. However, keep in mind that we can move layers up or down in the table of contents by clicking once and dragging that layer up or down. Let's leave the parcel layer below the substation point layer. Next, let's add a new map tab to our project. To do this, let's come up to the top ribbon and click Insert. Then click on New Map, and then New Map again. This is going to add a new map tab to our project. Let's rename our first map tab to CA Substations. Let's rename the second map tab to US Forest Service. Over to the right is our Catalog dialog box. When I expand the map section, you can see our California substations and US Forest Service maps are both listed. The reason this is important is because these maps will always be saved in your maps group. As an example, let's exit out of the Forest Service map. When I do this, you can see it is still listed under my maps group. So you can find maps back months after working on a project. I always recommend having a map every time you work on a new project. In the past, you would need a new ArcMap for every new project. Now you can have a single Pro project with multiple project maps. Let's next take a look at adding data through the Portal option in our catalog. To the right in our catalog, click on Portal. You should see 6 icons along the top of Portal. The first 4 icons relate to your organizational data that's stored in ArcGIS Online. The first button is My Content. This is all data that you have published. The second button is My Favorites. This is all the data that you have favorited. The third button is My Groups. In this option, you can see all hosted data that is saved within any of your groups. The fourth button is My Organization. This is all data that anyone within your organization has published. So the main thing to keep in mind for the first four buttons under Portal, all of these options relate to either your personal or your company's hosted online data. Using these options are a great way to share data within your company and seamlessly view and edit hosted data. Next is the ArcGIS Online option. This will allow you to search on every hosted data layer that has been made public in ArcGIS Online. There are literally hundreds of thousands of layers and rasters that can be found through this option. I always recommend that you be very careful when adding public data to your map, because you do not know the validity or authenticity of this data.
For example, I am going to type Weld County parcels into the search option to search for surface owner parcel data from Weld County, Colorado.
As I hover over a layer, I can see the date published and author of this layer. If I hover over this Weld-Eaton parcels layer, I can see the author is a user that I am not familiar with. However, if I hover over the parcels open data layer, I can see that the author is Weld County and the date published is within 24 hours. I can be pretty confident that this is an authoritative layer. I am going to add this layer into my Pro project by dragging and dropping it into the map. The last icon is for Living Atlas, which is the foremost collection of geographic information from around the globe. As compared to ArcGIS Online data, Living Atlas data is extremely trustworthy. Now I am going to search for Forest Service. There is an option for all wilderness areas in the United States. I am going to add that layer into my map and then zoom close to Weld County, Colorado. You can see just from online hosted data, I was very quickly able to add parcels for Weld County and also determine what, if any, Forest Service areas exist within or near Weld County in Colorado. For the last part of this chapter, I wanted to show you some of my favorite Living Atlas layers. My company, Platte River Analytics, assists a lot of solar developers with site selection and landowner maps. For these types of projects, we typically work with environmental parameters like wetlands, floodplains, tree cover, and slope. Let's use the California substation map that we created in the first chapter. Over here in the catalog under Portal, I'm going to search for wetlands. I'm going to add that layer and then add floodplain, slope, and tree cover. All of these layers come from Living Atlas and are published by federal agencies like the USGS. These are larger data sets, so as you can see, they may take a little while to load. What I really like about adding Living Atlas layers is the symbology is already set for me. You can see if I expand the slope and tree cover layers. The preset symbology is very useful for getting a quick overview of my areas of interest. There will be a lot more content on site selection in future chapters, but for now, I wanted to give you a quick overview of the amazing layers you can find through Living Atlas.